Hello, Internet! Gino, aka That Pinguino, here again with another deep look. This time, I'm going to be taking a look at what makes Vivi so awesome. Actually, I'm going to say what makes Vivi one of the best characters in Final Fantasy history, and probably my favorite video game character ever. And heck, to heck with it. What makes Vivi the best Final Fantasy character ever, and honestly one of my favorite characters in video games. The reason why I have this pause screen up is because the scene I'm going to be showing you is the very end of Final Fantasy IX, the very last final cutscene. Usually I deal with gameplay stuff, but Vivi's gameplay isn't especially interesting. So I wanted to deal with some of the big story moments that he comes up with. So if you don't want to be spoiled on the end of the game, pause, go play Final Fantasy IX, come back in 40 hours, and then watch the rest of this video. And well, I guess you'll then know why Vivi's so cool. But I'll probably say some stuff you didn't think of, I guess. So that'll be cool. And we can share. Then we can share this moment. So go ahead, play it. This game's great. If you stop now, I don't blame you. But if you've played this game and want to come along for the ride, thank you. So Vivi, like I said, gameplay-wise, not especially incredible. He's a black mage through and through, has a bunch of elemental magic, has a focus ability that boosts his black magic. He has a nice team-up attack with Steiner that gives him an added dimension that other characters in this game don't have, but nothing groundbreaking or remarkable. In terms of his trance, he just has double black magic. He gets to use black magic twice. Not groundbreaking, really good. He's probably one of the best damage dealers in the game, but nothing super duper impactful. What makes Vivi so amazing is that his entire lifespan, like his entire character arc, is contained within this game. He's about 6 when this game starts, and it's pretty apparent that he's very naive when the game starts. He starts in Alexandria by selling himself into slavery for a pair of tickets to a play. So that's where he starts, and the game ends with his death. It ends with a 6-year-old who's wide-eyed and learning about the world, ends with him dying. And that's, even having that arc at all is incredible. What they do with Vivi's character is just, here's a little version of Vivi. It's not Vivi, it's Vivi's son. But Vivi gets to do, as a child, something that children in Final Fantasy games just don't often get to do. He gets to wonder about the world. He gets to question his place in it. He gets to find his home. He gets to find out who he is. Very literally, he's a black mage. He's not human. He finds out where he came from, what his people are made of. It turns out he's an amalgamation of black magic and souls. So he finds out where he came from. He finds out that there are other people like him. He deals with a lot of struggles that young adults, kids, deal with. And he deals with them seriously. Characters like Palmemporum, most of the time, here's Vivi talking. I always talked about you, Zidane, how you were a very special person to us, because you taught us all how important life is. He's musing on stuff. Like, Palmemporum die, but they're comic relief most of the time. Other characters, I can't think of Yuffie. Yuffie's a kid. She is almost entirely comic relief. Eiko in this game, largely comic relief. Most of the time, kids in these games just don't get to have the full range of emotion. They don't get to ask these questions, which I think is really, really cool, really unique. Some of the main themes he deals with: finding home, finding out where you're from, finding out who you are, dealing with being alone. He deals with a lot of stuff that I personally, like when I played this game the first time, I was probably 9 or 10. And some of the stuff he's asking are questions I was asking at the same time. You taught us that life doesn't last forever. That's why we have to help each other and live life to the fullest. Like, by the time he finds out that his life is going to end, it is probably midway through disc 2 of this game that he's grappling with having a limited lifespan, not just knowing that he's mortal, but knowing that he is exceedingly mortal. That black mages, on average, live 1 to 3 years, and he's already lived 6. So he's probably not going to live much longer. And kind of having to deal with the fact that his life could end at any moment. It's a lot of heavy stuff. Even if you say goodbye, you'll always be in our hearts. So I know we're not alone anymore. Dealing with being alone, something he does a whole lot. And you kind of see just the wonder and the growth that he goes through over the course of the game. That he starts to learn how the world around him works. That Zidane becomes kind of an older brother to him, showing him the ropes, even though he's kind of a lecherous older brother. He teaches Vivi a whole lot, and you can actually see him start to grow. Like, from where he begins to where he ends, he does a whole lot. Why I was born, how I wanted to live. Thanks for giving me time to think. The main villain of Final Fantasy IX, Kuja, his central driving reason to try and blow up the world in this game is that he finds out he has a finite life. He is basically like the Black Mages. He will die. He's made for destruction and will be used as a tool and tossed aside. Vivi basically has the same revelation 2 discs before Kuja does, and he manages to keep his cool. To keep doing what you set your heart on, it's a very hard thing to do. We were all so courageous. Like, read that sentence and think that it's supposed to be a kid who's delivering it. It's just something that games, a lot of fiction just doesn't let a kid do. And in terms of him dying at the end, Final Fantasy, the big character getting killed off is, you always think of Aerith. And Vivi dying at the end, he's not just a martyr. A lot of these characters, Palom Porum, actually almost half the cast in FF4 sacrifices themselves at one point. Aerith, when they die, they're like half developed. They only have a few speaking parts and a few cutscenes. Aerith gets more developed than most, but she doesn't really do a whole lot of growing. Vivi does a whole lot of it. What to do when I felt lonely, that was the only thing you couldn't teach me. But we need to figure out the answer for ourselves. And him dying is not just in the service of the story. It is what makes the story come together. It is what ties this whole game together. A lot of Final Fantasy games just don't have great endings. This one does, and it is largely because of Vivi. It is him kind of summing his life experience and his experiences over the game up in a few short words before passing away. And it's just something that adults in games don't usually get to say. And he gets all the best lines, for the most part. In a game with a lot of great lines. I'm so happy I met everyone. I wish we could have gone on more adventures. But I guess we all have to say goodbye someday. Like, I've contemplating my own mortality or contemplating anyone else's is hard enough for me. But to give a lot of this weight to a kid is something, and have them express it as eloquently. Like, these sentences that they're giving him, there are a few lines each, but they use every single word. Everyone, thank you. Farewell. My memories will be part of the sky. And just the contrast with Zidane goes through a lot of the same things, looking for a home, finding out where he's from. Kuja, the main villain of the game, does the same exact thing. he just ties together so many of these themes, and by being a kid and looking at them so fresh, he gets to have a perspective that some of the more jaded characters just don't. Final Fantasy protagonists just so often can be so world-weary when, for the most part, they tend to be kids or teenagers, young adults, but they can seem so jaded, like Squall or Cloud's not necessarily jaded. He's got amnesia and a whole bunch of stuff, but Squall, Cloud for moments, and Vivi just doesn't suffer from any of that. Titus has he's really overwritten, but Vivi just, he appreciates life, he learns, he grows, he rounds out, and he does it all right in front of you. And that's something that I don't even know if you could do it if you didn't have a character with a similar arc to Vivi. You can, but it's just so much harder. Vivi, it's a start and an end, and you get to see all of it. Like some of the moments that they give him when he, for example, early on he sees a bunch of black mages get killed in front of him on a merchant ship, and when they all die, he doesn't even know what black mages are yet, but he starts the next boss fight against the person who destroyed them in trance because he is so affected by their passing, he can't abide it. There are moments when he finds the Black Mage Village and finds out that he's not the only person, the only Black Mage that's attained sentience, that has started thinking for himself, and learning that that other Black Mages can aspire to humanity instead of being mindless killing machines, and just how much joy he feels. He almost leaves the party. Just the moments that he had kind of guiding the Black Mage Village. A whole bunch of Black Mages midway through the game go and fight for Kuja because Kuja promises them that he can extend their life. And Vivi, obviously he doesn't follow them. And also, you get a sense in juxtaposing him with the Black Mages of how precious life can be for someone for whom it can be snatched at any moment. And for him it is a constant state. He has moments with Zidane growing up, Zidane being an older brother. Moments where he kind of is the voice of sanity for the party. And he just gets to do all of that stuff that even some of the adult characters in this game don't. He gets to appreciate life. And I guess that's just what drew me to this character so much. He gets to act like an adult, but be 6. He gets to act like a child and be 6. And he can be all of those things at the same time. He encompasses a whole lot of life experience in a 40-hour game with only... I mean, there are a lot more scenes than in most games, but still, relative to a book, it's not like he's got a whole lot of screen time to do all of the impactful stuff. And he's fun to play as. He's really good as a character. Don't get me wrong. Even though all this heavy stuff is going on in the background, Vivi is probably the premier damage dealer in this game. And that's just why I think Vivi's so darn awesome and the best character in Final Fantasy. He gets to do a little bit of everything. And he gets to be everyone. As a person who didn't have a lot of friends growing up, like, a lot of Vivi's struggles were my struggles. A lot of where Vivi kind of had to go mentally are places where I went. And I think I was definitely better for having played this game and for having seen it. So, hope you enjoyed this video. You should play Final Fantasy IX again. It's really good. It's really good. If you liked it, let me know. I'll keep churning these videos out. Probably not going to make another FF9 one for a while. But, man, this game is good. So, till next time, peace.